Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And I just recently passed 1,000 subscribers, which I have to say is pretty amazing, especially considering I've only been at this for a little over a year. So, to celebrate, I've prepared a video listing out my favorite Aphex Twin songs. Something that I was already planning on doing regardless, but whatever. Aphex Twin, as you may or may not already know, is one of the most influential names in all of electronic music, a favorite of many, including myself. Although, if I were to, list out my top 10 favorite artists or something, Aphex Twin would probably not make my personal list, as while I do like all his main albums, his side projects are kinda all over the place, and there are just some I don't really see myself returning to that much. But on the other hand, he would at least come close, and I'd list him as an honorable mention, since as much stuff as he has made, I do acknowledge that he is such a well-loved name for good reason. And there's much more from him that I like than I don't like. Heck, he's got 3 9 out of 10 albums to his name, and there are very few bands I can think of who can also share that honor. But enough about that, let's get the usual disclaimers out of the way. As I say at the end of all my videos, it's all my opinion and you can feel free to disagree with it. I'm not Watch Mojo and I don't take a song's popularity into account. It's just based on my personal enjoyment and nostalgia, and also, none of these lists are final, and are only reflect how I feel right at the moment of recording it. Well, editing, actually, but never mind. Let's get into this list. The top 10 best Aphex Twin songs. Number 10. Matchsticks, from Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. There's a part of me that just wants to include Selected Ambient Works in its entirety, both volumes, onto this list. But unfortunately there's only 10 spots. Now, see, this particular song I've really only gotten into since my reviewing the album, so maybe in a few months it might not even be here. But dang, this is a good song. It's just as spooky as the majority of the Selected Ambient Works Volume 2, but in a much more melodic and dramatic way than most songs on there. Almost reminding me of a super isolated sounding Jean-Michel Jarre track, making for an excellent closer to this album. And thanks to that position, it's very easy for me to just plop on and listen to out of context, something I've been doing quite a bit recently. Aphex Twin's music has always sounded kinda alien, and this song is basically like the soundtrack to being pulled up by a UFO's tractor beam or something. Maybe it's not even the best song on Volume 2, but it's the one that I've been listening to the most as of late. And since I don't see a lot of love expressed towards it compared to other songs on this album, I figured I should give it the attention it deserves. Number 9. Schottky 7th Path, from Selected Ambient Works 8592. Speaking of songs that sound alien, here's another one that goes way back with me. I first discovered this song on a crappy Sokoban clone Flash game from back in the day when Flash games were still a thing. I miss those days. I discovered Pulse Width from the same developers, by the way, but I digress. But it was through this early discovery of Schottky 7th Path that led Selected Ambient Works 8592 to become so integrated into my life. And as you probably guess, it's still one of the ones that I've returned to by far the most. I love its alien sound, its weird percussion, its catchy melody, and especially its laid-back beatless sections. If Matchsticks is the soundtrack to being pulled into a UFO, Schottky 7th Path is the soundtrack to the inside of the UFO and encountering alien life forms. The only drawback is that Ptolemy comes right after it, which is not a reminder to start the song over and enjoy it more. Number 8. Logan Rock, from the Richard D. James album. No, this is not a joke. This is a song that I don't expect anyone else to actually put on their respective lists, but it definitely belongs on mine. Allow me to explain. You may recall in my review of the Richard D. James album that while I gave the album an 8 out of 10, I was very noticeably burnt out on it. Thankfully, this is no longer the case, and I further stand behind that rating, but the fact remains is that in preparation for the review, I listened to the album front to back for about 5 days straight with no breaks to listen to other things. I assume most people would not be doing this, as at least for me, listening to anything that many times in a row is way overdoing it and leads me to totally get sick of it, especially on such a short album that I didn't really even consider to be an all-time favorite in the first place. It eventually got to one point where I was listening to it on the subway and I found that I couldn't get enjoyment from almost any of the songs at all. Not even on Girl Boy Song or 4. Well, that is all except for Logan Rock, which... Yes, in all the listens of this album, this was the only track on the Richard D. James album that I never remotely got sick of. And that is why it is on this list. I love the cartoon sound effects, uses percussion, the spooky melody on the organ, and the synth in the background. And I don't even usually like the sound of the organ that much, but it works great here. This is not a song that I can take particularly seriously, but that's part of the appeal, because the rest of the album is the kind of thing that I kind of had to turn my brain on to really fully enjoy it. Through all this time, I now look at Logan Rock as an overlooked masterpiece. Number 7. Alberto Balsam from I Care Because You Do. Well, let's follow up the weirdest choice on this list with one of the most obvious choices. I Care Because You Do is an album that, while I don't like all the way through and don't care for the percussion-heavy tracks that don't seem to go anywhere, I do very much care for songs like this one. In fact, this was the first Aphex Twin song I ever heard all the way through, thanks to the old iTunes Essentials playlists that I sampled through as a kid. It was my introduction to Aphex Twin, and while it wasn't until much later that I actually looked into the guy, this will always hold a place in my heart for that. This song would have been right at home on 8592 as well, with the same synth settings, the same isolated but welcoming atmosphere, the same catchy melodies. It's almost kind of out of place on I Care Because You Do, but then again, that album is kind of all over the place already and needed a break from all the beat-heavy material, so I look forward to this track anytime I listen to the album. Fantastic song, to be sure. Number 6. pwsteel.ldpinch.d from Analord 8. You may recall that I've never actually been a particularly big fan of the Analord EP series. I think the series has a lot of filler material and isn't enjoyable from start to finish, but at the same time, I still recommended checking the series out as there were still some gems hiding in there all over the place. And this one here is easily the best of them all. In a sea of abstract and difficult acid house tracks, this song, with a propulsive foot-tapping beat and a catchy and almost poppy melody, was a real breath of fresh air. It was this context that led me to listen to it way more than anything else on the Analord series, and the one that led me to put it among the ranks of Aphex Twin's best, even letting me compare it to my favorites from selected ambient works. This is a standout if I ever saw one. Number 5. Rhubarb from Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. I said before that I kinda wanted to include the entirety of this album on the list, and deciding which songs best deserve to be on the list was no easy task. But one thing remained pretty constant, and it was mainly that this song here was my favorite on the album. Having been one of the few songs off of here that I felt like I really got as a kid, and still holds up just as well now as it did back then, if not even more. It's just very warm and relaxing, like a Brian Eno track, but with every repeating, foggy synth chord remaining memorable, all the textures flowing together and creating an atmosphere that seems distant and unrecognizable, but still alluring and beautiful. I really don't have much else to say about this track. It's been a favorite for years and hasn't gotten old. Number 4. Cow Cud is a Twin from I Care Because You Do. Now, Alberto Balsam may have been my first Aphex Twin song, but my first time hearing I Care Because You Do led me towards a certain other song that I've since listened to a lot more. First of all, I think the atmosphere of this song is closer to that of the rest of the album than Alberto Balsam was, this one being much more beat-centric and rougher. But also, I think I actually like the melody on this one even more, being much more fun and happy, the kind of song that just puts a creepy grin on my face like the one on the album cover. Okay, maybe not, but it still always just puts me in a good mood. The almost funky bass line, the catchy lo-fi synth washes, the computerized laughing, the voice at the beginning that sounds almost too real and always caught me off guard. Everything about this song just works great, and I love it. Well, aside from the abrupt cutoff ending, but it's just a reminder for me to start the song over and listen to it again. Number 3. Petia Till CX Hitadui from Drux. You may be wondering what this song is doing here and not April 14th, which I have a lot more nostalgia for and know a lot better. Well, not to discredit that song, which, spoilers, is the first honorable mention on this list, but after my review of Drux, this song here suddenly started to grow on me a lot more. It's a simple and short piano piece that basically follows the same philosophy as Rhubarb, using an effect to make the piano sound like it's surrounded by brick walls and making the song sound really distant, and the melody already sounding distant and melancholy by itself. It also has a surprising amount of emotion poured into it, and when I'm not feeling that great, this song has always been nice and comforting. And the fact that it's not as catchy as April 14th only makes it even more effective, just kind of making it foggier. It's a song that shows the power in subtlety, and one that I've listened the crap out of in the past couple of months with no sign of it losing its effect. Number 2. Window Licker from, well, the Window Licker EP. Yeah, this is another obvious choice. Quite possibly RDJ's most recognizable song ever. But what can I say? It dang deserves the reputation it's gotten. Even with people like Daft Punk and Skrillex being heavily influenced by this song and trying to copy it on songs like Face to Face and Kill Everybody, you still can't beat the original. And it still stands alone, and nothing really sounds like it to this day. Glitched up and chopped up off-key vocals, catchy synth melodies, an unpredictable beat, weird bridges and twists and turns like the stuttering at the beginning, and the distorted guitar feedback synths at the end. The song sounds so completely random, and yet every single moment is memorable. And on top of that, it was the second song that I ever heard from Aphex Twin after Alberto Balsam, this one getting even more repeat listens back in the day, leading to even stronger nostalgia. This song is just really one of a kind, and is a testament to why so many hold RDJ to a standard so much higher than most bands could ever hope to reach. And before we get into my number 1, here's some honorable mentions. April 14th from Drux. Told you it'd be here. 4 from the Richard D. James album. Actium from Selected Ambient Works 8592. Flim from Come to Daddy. Blue Calx from Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. Pancake Lizard from the Donkey Rhubarb EP. Icthedral from I Care Because You Do. Polygon Window from, well, Polygon Window's Surfing on Sine Waves. Stone in Focus from Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. Tha from 8592. Xmas Yvette 10 from Cyro. Zygomatic 17 from Drux. Telemi from 8592. Hexagon from Volume 2. Bubiyadihian Chord from Drux. Okay, if I don't stop somewhere, I'm gonna be stuck here forever, so let's just get into number 1. Helios Fan from Selected Ambient Works 8592. Yeah, I know, finishing off with another obvious choice, but just like how Cowcut is a Twin became my favorite song on I Care Because You Do shortly after my first hearing it all the way through, this song was almost immediately my favorite song on 8592 when I first heard that album all the way through, passing right by the already formed connection to Schottky 7th Path and Pulse Width. I'm almost kinda at a loss for words on what to say about this song, but it's dang near perfect. The warm ambient pads contrasting with the manic beat, the various synth melodies floating in and out, and everything just as infectiously catchy as hell. It pretty much just merits no discussion. While it's probably not as distinctive or popular as Windowlicker, it's one of his most recognizable tracks, and it just encompasses everything I love about the guy's work. Yeah. Well, okay, no it doesn't. RDJ is just too diverse an artist for any one song to encompass everything that makes him so well loved. But it's just always been that big elephant in the room for me, the one song that just always comes to mind whenever I think about Aphex Twin. That's really all there is to it though. It's just too boringly perfect to talk about anymore, and a good place to finish off this list. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I would like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.